What's up, everybody? Wade Neely coming into you live here on a Monday mirror edition of Main Street Sports Today, presented as always by TOA of Columbia. Mo Patton going to join us in just a matter of moments. Time to look back, rewind, break down, and discuss what was a wild weekend in the sports world. We'll also get you prepped for Monday Night Football and for what's to come the rest of the week. We're coming to you from the Lee Company Mobile Studios as always. The Monday mirror promises to deliver. And again, Mo is going to join us here in just one moment as we sift through just a little small technical difficulty here in this one. And once we get that squared away, we will be up and we will be running. It should be a good show today. A couple of our favorite guests. We'll be chatting with Caleb JARREAU in the second hour. He's from the UT Daily Beacon. Caleb's been busy, not just covering the Vols, also went over to Paris covering the Paralympic Games recently. So we're going to catch up with our buddy Caleb. The last time we talked to him, the Vols were winning the College World Series in baseball. And Tony V and the boys were on hand at Nissan yesterday. Unfortunately, they did not bring any championship flavor to the scene at Nissan Stadium yesterday. But we'll catch up with Caleb again. That's coming your way in the second hour. Coming up here in just a matter of moments, more from Nissan Stadium. We'll talk with the Queen of Tennessee sports media herself. It'll be the Associated Press, TERESA Walker, who's joining us. We'll talk Jets. We'll talk Titans. We'll talk Will Levis. We'll talk all that and more on a Monday Mirror edition here on Main Street Sports Today, presented once again by TOA of Columbia. Once again, Mo Patton's going to join us here in just a matter of moments. We've got a lengthy rundown. So what we're going to do, we'll tap into the rundown. Yesterday's, well, as we like to say, the weekend's results and today's schedule as we kick off the Monday Mirror with the Monday Rundown.
This is the Rundown.
I've got you locked, folks, for your Monday Rundown. But before we get into it, I want to remind you that the Monday Rundown is brought to you by Zion Christian Academy. ZCA offers a faith-based, Christ-centered education in Murray County. So give them a call today. That number is 931-388-5831, or you can visit zioneagles.org and schedule an appointment today. Once again, that is Zion Christian Academy, where they are prepared for college and equipped for purpose. As we kick it off, high school scoreboard. A lot of wild games over the weekend, starting all the way back on Thursday, ending all the way on Saturday. But here is the high school scoreboard. Blackman was a 35-0 victor over Summit. Boyd Buchanan claims Franklin Christian 52-0. Brentwood Academy 31-2. Yes, 31-2 on Father Ryan. Centennial all over Lawson 44-0 was your score there. It was White House Heritage with a 42-6 win over Cheatham County. Clarksville picks up a 35-14 win versus Hopkinsville, Kentucky. Middle Tennessee Christian taking on Clarksville Academy. And Middle Tennessee Christian wins that one 27-7. Kirkwood with a 34-0 versus Clarksville Northeast. Coffee County 21. Siegel Zip. It was Cornersville with a 40-26 win over Ezell Harding. Creekwood on top of Montgomery Central 27-7. Eagleville grinding out, man. Collinwood made them work for it, but 12-7. Eagleville gets the victory in that showdown there in a region matchup. Houston County on top of East Hickman, 28-22. East Nashville blanking Maplewood, 47-0. East Robertson, 40-7 over Sycamore. It was Franklin Road Academy, 55. Good Pasture, 8. Gordonsville, 48-14 over Joe Burns. Brentwood was a 7-6 winner over Henry County. Hillsboro, 28. Cane Ridge, 6. Hendersonville, 47. Hunters Lane, 28. And Huntington knocking off Columbia Academy, 42-20.
Also, Franklin with a 35-14 win over Independence. It was, can y'all hear me?
Yes, sir.
Awesome. West Creek 13, Kenwood 6. It was Ensworth 35. Knoxville Catholic, nothing. Cookville with a 27-0 win over Lebanon. Liberty Creek 41, Stratford 6. Lincoln County with a 49-14 win over Spring Hill. It was Baylor 37, Lipscomb Academy 7. Mace with a 56-0 win over Innovation Academy. Christ Presbyterian downed Montgomery Bell Academy 34-6. Marshall County with a 59-6 win over Greenbrier. It was Mount Juliet Christian 34. Red Boiling Springs nothing. Mount Pleasant with a 15-7 win over Harpeth. Oakland down to Antioch 41-14. It was Pearl Cone 49, Pure Academy 8. Pope John Paul II defeated Webb School 33-27. Also, Beach defeated Portland 35-14. Ravenwood with a 14-9 win over Smyrna. It was Richland 21, Fairview 17. Riverdale with a 24-7 win over Germantown. Stewart's Creek defeated Rockvale 27-7. Rossview knocked off Clarksville Northwest 44-6. Shelbyville with a 34-24 comeback victory over Columbia Central. We've got South Haven Christian defeating Zion Christian 50-6. Springfield defeated Station Camp 40-14. Grundy County 14, Tennessee Heat nothing. White House 49, Whites Creek 20. Green Hill with a 36-0 win over Wilson Central. And on Saturday for the Pegasus Cup, it was Summertown staying unbeaten with a 39-27 win over Loretto.
Big week of high school football as we run through those scores there. They're taking us into Friday where we go to the volleyball hardwood. Gallatin wins 2 matches, 2-1 over Oakland, 2-1 over Greenwood, Kentucky. Also on Friday, Page kept Gallatin from pulling off a 3-match sweep there. Page wins at 2-1 in that Friday showdown. Kicking it into Saturday now is Loretto defeating Florence, Alabama 2-0. Mia Terry Park Country Day out of Louisiana 2, Gallatin 1. So Gallatin dropping that one there. They drop another one 2-1 to Harpeth later in that afternoon. Loretto staying unbeaten on Saturday. 2-0 wins versus Lexington, Alabama, Winston County, Alabama, Deschler, Alabama, and Phil Campbell, Alabama. Loretto basically rules the state of Alabama is all you need to know in terms of high school volleyball. Girls soccer, these scores came in from Friday. Merrill Hyde was a 5-0 win versus Cookeville. Henry County 2-2 versus Fairview. Graves County, Kentucky, defeating Greenbrier 7-0. MLK on top of Greenville. Close contest. 2-1 was your final there. And Notre Dame out of New York. Notre Dame, New York comes in and beats Liberty Creek. 1-0 was your final score.
Saturday soccer action. Fairview with a 5-0 win over Taylor County, Kentucky. Girls Preparatory School out of Chattanooga 3, Battleground Academy 0. Liberty Creek with a 5-2 win over Harding Academy. It was Loudon 8, Greenbrier 0. St. Mary's Episcopal and Martin Luther King played to a 1-1 draw. Merrill Hyde defeated Trinity Christian 9-0. It was Rockvale 8, North Hardin 3. Rockvale also defeated Seymour 6-1. Lakeland Prep blanked West Creek 1-0. On Sunday, Fairview with a 5-2 win over Anderson County, Kentucky. Granger with a 4-1 win over Greenbrier. It was Lakeway Christian 3, Rockvale 1. Liberty Creek with a 2-0 win over Westview. South Warren of Kentucky and Martin Luther King again played to a 1-1 draw. And it was Merrill Hyde 9, Scott County, Kentucky 3. College football action over the weekend of local interest. It was Cumberland defeating St. Andrews 41-6. Vanderbilt went to Atlanta and fell late to Georgia State 36-32. Western Kentucky with a 49-21 win over Middle Tennessee State in 100 miles of extreme hate now. Tennessee State with a 41-28 win over Arkansas Pine Bluff at the Southern Heritage Classic in Memphis. Central Arkansas defeated Austin P 45-17, and Tennessee 71. Kent State, nothing.
Goose egg on that one.
Big time.
Major League Baseball scores. Braves, we'll give it to you them first. 6-2, they defeat the Dodgers on Friday. 10-1, they defeat the Dodgers on Saturday. Sunday, the Dodgers come back. 9-2 was your final score there. Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Houston winning 3 games from the Angels. All games pretty close scoreline. 5-3 on Friday, 5-3 on Saturday, 6-4 was your Sunday score. Again, Houston winning all 3 there rather versus the Angels there. Nashville Sounds action. Friday was a 5-4 defeat for the Sounds. Saturday's matchup was canceled. They were scheduled, I think, for a doubleheader on Saturday, right?
They were.
Both of those got washed. The Sounds fall 2-1 in the Sunday matchup. So that rolls us now in.
Hold up. Sounds win 2-1.
Right? Correction. Yes. Yeah. Excuse me. Yeah. Take that back, folks. The Sounds defeat Memphis 5-4. I was getting ready to say, because I saw Brewer Hicklin on Twitter said he had a walk-off.
Yeah.
Things got twisted there. They win their final home game on a walk-off. 5-4, they win on Friday. The doubleheader was canceled Saturday. They win both Friday and Sunday because Sunday was a 2-1 victory. Taking into WNBA action on Friday, it was the Storm defeating the Wings 83-81. The Lynx defeating the Sky 83-66. Aces on top of the Fever 78-74. The Mystics, hottest team in the league right now, 72-69 over the Dream. It was the Sun on top of the Phoenix 88-69. That rolls us into Sunday. Yesterday action, couple of good games, including the Lynx on top of the Liberty 88-79. The Dream on top of the Mystics, no longer the hottest team in the WNBA, 76-73, 110-109. The Fever squeak out a win versus the Wings. It was the Sparks 87, the Sun 71. Storm bouncing back with a nice win, 90-87 versus the Sparks. And Phoenix, the Mercury that is, with the 93-88 win versus Chicago. Two final scores, Mo. Nashville wins. Look out.
Hey,
they might mess around and get out of last place. NSC picks up a 2-0 win versus the rival Atlanta United. And the Jets come into Nissan Stadium and defeat the Titans yesterday in NFL action 24-17.
Today's high school volleyball action at 4:30, Culleoka is at Santa Fe. At 5:45, Middle Tennessee Christian goes to Webb School. Also, Columbia Academy is at Franklin Grace. Franklin Road Academy is at Providence Christian. 6 o'clock starts Battle Creek at Hickman County, Columbia Central at Hillsboro, Loretto at Lawrence County, Marshall County hosting Spring Hill, Summertown at Murfreesboro Central, Riverdale at Stewart's Creek. Starting times unknown for Watertown at Eagleville and for Ezel Harding at Mount Juliet Christian. Girls soccer action this evening, 4:30, Glencliff is at Hunters Lane. At 5 o'clock, Kip Nashville is at STEM Academy. Clarksville Academy goes to Ezel Harding. Loretto hosts Cornersville. McGavock is at Loretto hosts Cornersville at 5:30. Also at 5:30, McGavock is at East Robertson. At 6, Huntland hosting Giles County. White House goes to Macon County. Culleoka is at Battle Creek. Watertown travels to Warren County for a 6:30 first touch. At 7, it's Nolansville at Franklin. Greenwood, Kentucky is at Gallatin, and Clarksville Northwest is at Trigg County, Kentucky. In Major League Baseball action this evening, 6:20 first pitch for the final game of that 4-game series as the Dodgers are at Truist Park against the Braves. You can see it on the MLB Network and on Bally Sports Southeast. At 8:40, also on the MLB Network, the Houston Astros travel to San Diego, taking on the Padres at Petco Park. Ladies and gentlemen, that is your rundown. Your top story brought to you as always by Piggly Wiggly and Neely's Mill in Columbia. Be sure and get by there for their delicious daily deli lunch items that are available from 11 a.m. till 6 p.m. Also, their hand-cut meats and everything is cost plus 10% at the cash register. Piggly Wiggly, Neely's Mill, Columbia, bringing you our top story. And this morning, the University of Memphis announced a preseason doubleheader. Their inaugural Hoops for St. Jude Tip-Off Classic will be played on October 15th at the FedEx Forum. In the opener, the Memphis men will take on North Carolina. That's a 6 o'clock Central Time start. It can be seen on ESPNU. Following that will be a matchup between the Memphis women and your defending national champion, University of South Carolina Lady Gamecocks.
Hello.
That will be, yes, sir. That'll be an 8:30 start. It's on ESPN Plus. Now, I believe this will be, somewhat the coming out party for Memphis women's coach Alex Simmons. I think this is her first year. Formerly Alex Fuller, who starred at Shelbyville, played at Middle Tennessee State, was a former assistant under Rick Insell over at MTSU, and was hired from Gardner Webb to take over the Lady Tiger program. I don't think she was there last year. I'm pretty sure this is her first season at the top of the University of Memphis women's program, and so she's coming out strong, clearly.
Yeah, this is got to be a win-win, right? You get exposure for your team, but it's a preseason game too. So at the end of the day, no harm, no foul. South Carolina probably going to come in and absolutely pummel you, but your team's going to get experience. You're going to get better. And then at the end of the day, you get a little extra exposure and a little notch in the belt there for your team, a little quality experience. You will not play anybody tougher, I don't imagine, the rest of the season than your very first game.
I apologize. This will be Coach Simmons' second season at Memphis. So, but nevertheless, kind of announcing their presence with authority. As you mentioned, it's not a great matchup from a competition standpoint, but again, from an exposure standpoint, there'll be a lot of odds on it just because it's South Carolina, and they can't watch South Carolina without watching Memphis. So,
yep, that's what I'm saying. This is a good deal, and if you're Penny Hardaway, you just slide ESPNU, the play-by-play and the color commentator, $100 each, and say, please don't talk about the offseason that we just had. You just kind of just try and keep things moving and just focus on the game versus North Carolina. So potentially a good setup for them. Yeah, preseason deal, get the buzz going, and for a preseason showdown, this is about as good as you could get. They obviously really tap into St. Jude and what they do for that city over there. So this is a fantastic deal. It feels like all around.
It really is. Yeah. So there's something to look forward to. If you are a women's basketball fan, you want to see the defending national champions. And if you want a night out in Memphis, which is never a bad thing, so go check that out. Again, that's October 25th over at the FedEx Forum. So should be a lot of fun. Let's take a break here on Main Street Sports Today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. When we return, we will be joined by the queen of Tennessee sports media, TERESA Walker of the Associated Press, talking about some of the goings-on yesterday at Nissan Stadium. So stay tuned when we return to the Lee Company studios after this. Whether you're an athlete or a weekend warrior, when it comes to your performance, don't settle for anything less than excellence. We're proud to announce that Mid-Tennessee Bone and Joint Clinic is now Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia, where we are redefining sports medicine and orthopedics. Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance's team of expert sports medicine physicians understands the unique demands of your body. TOA Columbia specializes in personalized orthopedic care, offering state-of-the-art treatments for everything from sports injuries to joint replacements. Learn more at toacolumbia.com.
So Busy Bee is a very close-knit family. We fight just like every family does. We have arguments, but we always come out with a solution to the problems. We don't just fight about what we want, we fight about what customers need. We want to make sure that every customer we go to is more than satisfied. And that doesn't just start whenever we show up at their door, that starts when we show up every day at work. We want to make sure that we are serving our customers to the best of our ability.
He shoots, and he scores!
Custom Stone Handler supplies over 600 distributors and suppliers with quality stone products. Along with River Stone, we produce and distribute over 100 building, landscape, and other bulk products. Our goal is to provide quality products, service, and partnerships to ensure our customers' success. We firmly believe that the measure of any person or company is how they treat other people and customers. Give them a call at 931-490-4990 or visit CustomStonehandlers.com.
With Lee Company technology, the best handymen are hands-off. Lee Company techs have been using visual findings and other smart technology tools for years to add transparency and virtually take customers along. You see what we see, whether we're in a crawl space or on a roof. With Lee Company, technology helps us help you, no matter what's happening in the world or at your house. We thrive under the lights.
a city of performers, putting on one heck of a show. Headlining night after night. Welcome to Smashville.
Welcome back to the Monday Mirror edition of Main Street Sports Today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. I'm Maurice Patton. That's Wade Neely. And apparently TERESA got whatever was on the stove off of the stove and is with us here to talk a little Tennessee Titans. But before we talk Titans, well, two things. One, I referred to two different dates for that Memphis preseason game. It is October 15th. At the FedEx Forum. More importantly, TERESA, what was on the stove?
Lunch. Yes, I had some macaroni coming off. I'm making a little pasta salad. So it's like it's cooling off now in the fridge. But yes, it was like I looked at the time and it's like, ooh, 8 minutes. For that's exactly when I'm supposed to join you guys. So thank you for your patience because I'm hungry. It's Lupper.
Lupper.
Time.
Yeah, you're
like
in Lupper territory.
Lupper for sure. Absolutely. TERESA, I was chided a little bit for being a little harsh on my Facebook regarding the Mayo Messiah yesterday, but watching somebody make the same mistakes 2 weeks in a row and having predictable results both times gets a little old.
Well, and Brian Callahan addressed that yesterday. I mean, he addressed it during the game, and
he did.
and when he addressed that today, he said, used to being an offensive coordinator, that kind of stuff happens a lot on the sidelines, just not used to having those TV cameras. I mean, it is just his second game, regular season game as a head coach. The cameras find you a lot more when you're the head coach than when you're the offensive coordinator yelling at Joe Burrow up in Cincinnati.
I have zero problem with Brian Callahan's reaction.
Well,
You sent her to a parallel universe.
I guess I did. I guess that, and you know what the thing there is that TERESA was so proud of her internet issues that she had corrected here a couple of weeks ago, and so she's she may be very Brian Callahan-ish right about now, actually. But yeah, the Titans drop a 24-17 decision in their home opener to the Jets yesterday after falling 24-17 the previous week at Chicago, and kind of mirror images of each other from the standpoint that Will Levis ill-advised interception late in the Bears game, Will Levis ill-advised lateral that was, intercepted / recovered by the Jets yesterday. And it just feels like to me that this team has played well enough to be 2-0 everywhere else except at the quarterback position. TERESA, correct me if I'm wrong. TERESA,
We're getting her back in.
Yeah, guys, it may be that while I have gig fiber now in my house, the problem may be that, it's one of the security things on my laptop, the VPN was a very strong VPN. Sometimes I have trouble getting in behind the company wall with that VPN. It is so strong. So sorry about that. But yes, I probably I just used some of the language that Brian Callahan used during that game. And he said that the reason he can do that is he's coaching Will Levis as hard and loves him and makes it very clear that, I love you, dude, but we got to fix it. And he said today, we thought we had worked through that. And the problem is you can explain it. I mean, DeMarcus Walker of the Bears, former Titan, said after the opener, take the sack. Jermaine Johnson was parted off yesterday with a torn Achilles. He said during the week that you look on film, you can see Will Levis. He gets a little panicky early, and some of those runs yesterday, those big runs, may have been a bad thing because it's like it gets you thinking that I can do this. It reminds me of Jake Locker, that Superman, I can go win the game kind of thing. We saw it in Steve McNair. He did that a lot. Not many human beings are built like Steve McNair was. And in that case, it literally cost them 3 points in a game. And if you go up 10 points, because it would have been a 10-0 lead, yes, the defense held and forced the Jets to punt. But, by the time the Titans finally got a field goal, is at the end of the first half, and the Jets had tied the game at that point. So instead of it being a 10 or 13-7 win or lead at halftime, it was 10-7. Sorry, now my cat is over here trying to attack my phone cord. Yes, Roscoe, it's almost feeding time. So how you coach him out of that, I don't know, because your former intern this morning, 25-year-old man asking, where are my car keys? Where are my wallet? And it's like, dude, how many times have I told you to put them in one place so that you know where they're at all the time? It's literally why we have a keychain hook right next to the door to the house. And it's like, it's not my fault you can't use this. And at a certain point, the Carolina Panthers, they've got tired with Bryce Young, and he was the number 1 pick overall last year. Now they've got Andy Dalton, and they have a billionaire owner in David Tepper, who is at a point where he wants to win. Now, Amy Adams Strunk made her moves over the last 2 years. She fired a GM in December of 22, and she fired a head coach in this January for a team that had lost 18 of 24 games at that point, and made it very clear this is not acceptable. Guess what? They've spent, and this is why Brian Callahan says, I know we're going to get this going the right direction. Now, I looked it up. Bengals last 2 years, this year, 0-2 started. They had winning records each of the last 2 seasons, despite an 0-2 start. In 2022, they won 12 games with Joe Burrow. So, he's like, I've got the confidence in this coaching staff, in the people we brought in. Sunday's lineup featured 7 starters who are brand new to this team this year on defense alone. And I think there's 5 new starters on offense. So there's a lot of new faces. And Brian Callahan has been saying since before the season started that it'll take a month or so into the season to put these puzzle pieces together. And the part of the problem, well, his dad has got the biggest piece of the puzzle to fix, and that's the offensive line. J.C. Latham, Peter Skoronski, huge improvement by all the PFF stat guys from week 1 to week 2. Right side needs some help. Badly.
At the same time, though, Teresa, and we're speaking with Teresa Walker of the Associated Press. I was asking it, and I don't know if you heard me or not, but it feels like, I'll preface it by saying quarterbacks get way too much credit and they get way too much blame. I'll give you that. But that said, when you make 2 plays like he made, the pick 6 at Chicago, again, they lost 3 points yesterday. But it feels like to me, for whatever else is going on with this team, the rest of this team has played well enough in these first 2 games to be 2-0, if not 4 5 giveaways by the quarterback.
Special teams a little bit as well.
Okay. Yeah. Block punts in consecutive games are not good either. You're right. I'm
not going to attempt to Google that stat. Teresa may know it off the top, but I feel like you got to try really
I saw
hard
2012 Washington was the last team to have block punts in back-to-back games to open the season.
To open a season, and my colleague Josh Dubow, he tweeted out the last teams to do it in the last 20 years. Let me see if I can find that stat, but it's a short list. And if they were
it's not one you want to be on.
No, it's not. And when Brian Callahan says, I don't know that I've seen it in back-to-back games, he hasn't, because here we go. Teams with punts blocked in back-to-back games, not just the first 2 games, but back-to-back games. The Titans this year, the 2020 Chargers, the 2012 Chargers, 2012 Washington Redskins at that point, right. 2010 Dolphins. That's the list. In the last 20 years. Go back to 1960. There's only 2 other teams that have done it. Only 2 teams since 1960 have done it in 3 straight games. So the Titans are trying to avoid joining a very short list of shame. I mean, talk about pump block of shame. But the 1990 Browns and the 1986 Packers. So my colleague Josh Dubow, who is just a great follow on social media, he is a stat master. He makes Pro Football Reference sing with their stat head thing. Go follow him. He'll tell you all sorts of stuff about all the teams in the NFL. But the thing is this, the Jets rushed 4. And Julius Chestnut said, I whiffed, essentially. I mean, he, stay in block. It was reminiscent of the play last December when they had and it's like, dude, you haven't seen punts blocked in back-to-back games. I've seen punts blocked on back-to-back punts with this punter. Just be grateful Ryan Stonehouse got up after each of those punts.
And I'm telling you that has to be the concern right there, Teresa, because he got injured on one of those. How gun-shy is Ryan Stonehouse right now?
Well,
he's had 4 punts blocked in his last 13 games.
Well, 4 punts blocked in his last 3 games. I mean,
13.
No,
go 3.
He was injured. The last.
I'm sorry. 4 punts blocked in his last 13 attempts. Excuse me.
Yeah. So in over a span of 3 games. So it's like, if he is gun shy, he certainly deserves to be. I mean, his teammates have put him out there on a limb and sawed it off for him. And, he has a right to be. But, this is a young man that he's an undrafted punter who booms the heck out of the ball and just keeps coming back for more. So the Titans, that's the thing. You're 8 blocking 4. Block everybody, protect the punter. That should be, I put that up on big letters for the team meeting on Wednesday morning. Protect the punter. I might add in a few words that would not be good to show up on any broadcast, but
Brian Callahan is familiar with them.
Exactly. We get the coordinators on Thursdays, and Cole Anderson said last week, it starts and ends with me. And this last special teams coordinator who couldn't protect the punter for this franchise was fired on a Monday when the punter got hurt and knocked out for the rest of the season. So it's like, protect the punter, Colt. And so somebody brought up a great argument that maybe the bottom of this roster is filled with people who are better backups than maybe special teams players. And what is it we hear when they draft guys? Guys who are starters in college, they're not playing special teams because they are literally, the big man on campus. So some of the people at the bottom of the roster, this is where 48, 49 through 53 matters so much, because if you're going to be active on game day, you're playing special teams. This is where that matters. And, for Will Levis, he talked about trying to rewire his brain.
How did his brain get wired that way to start with?
Well, the year that he spent at Kentucky when his line went to the NFL without him, he probably should have went on to the NFL too. That might have helped. Because I remember when Jake Locker was drafted by the Titans, and I had a colleague say, he had no offensive line at Washington. The Titans protect him. And remember, Mike Munchak was the coach. Had just taken over as the coach, and they draft Jake Locker, and he's going to be the next Steve McNair because he's so competitive. He's so tough. Sometimes you can't coach that instinct. And Brian Callahan mentioned they've got that instinct. How do you deal with that? And he says and Brian Callahan was asked that. How do you deal with that instinct? You keep coaching it. But it's like, is it smack the hand? Is it, the surrender cobra? I mean, I don't know how you fix that instinct when that's what it is an instinct.
I mean, it's bad decision making. And can you coach through or coach someone out of an inability to make sound decisions?
Exactly. You need him to be a game manager. They spent tens of millions of dollars. And to be fair, Brian Callahan has said that he could be better. My analysis of the game, I broke down the number of 3-and-outs. They've had a bunch of them these first 2 weeks. And, aside, I mean, shoot, you count the 2 punt blocks, they've turned the ball over 7 times. So one of the punts was returned for a touchdown. One of the interceptions was returned for a touchdown. So, I mean, the points, the turnovers, the sad part is right now they are first in the NFL in the fewest yards allowed, total yards, passing yards, and yet they have 1 takeaway. And that's the area that they've got to get better. Guys, Harold Landry, who, he goes to the Pro Bowl, tears an ACL, misses a season, comes back, has double-digit sacks. He's got 3 sacks through 2 games. They are getting pressure to quarterbacks. They are batting balls. They are not getting takeaways. And I'm going to, I've heard this cliche many times, and it is true. They come in bunches. The Titans need to start getting their hands on some and taking that ball away instead of swiping Aaron Rodgers' face mask as Jeffrey Simmons did yesterday, which is a roughing. I mean, guys, do we remember 2008? Kerry Collins had a lighter tap on his helmet in the Baltimore game on the road in the regular season, and that was the key roughing penalty that sustained the game-winning drive. So those calls go 2 and 4 and against you over the course of time. But they need to start getting some turnovers. Denard Wilson was literally hired because this team only had 6 interceptions last season, fewest in the NFL. They're still looking for their first pick after 8 quarters.
At the same time, Teresa, this defense has allowed 4 touchdowns in 2 games?
Yeah, the offense is giving up more points than the defense at this point. I mean, seriously. So it's like, I haven't done the math to be if that's true, but it sure feels like it, right? So and Brian Callahan said that if we can just fix our mistakes, they've essentially been their own worst enemy. They fix their mistakes and go out and play better football. And the better football is just simply don't turn the ball over. Don't get the ball blocked. I'm fair. I'm going to jump out on a limb here, but if they don't turn the ball over Sunday against Green Bay Packers, I can almost guarantee they'll probably score more than 17 points.
Mike Vrabel is no longer here, but don't do stupid to hurt the team. Still applies.
It's a truism that for every sport. It doesn't matter what sport you're playing. Don't do dumb stuff. It is that simple. And, that's the thing. Chidobe Awuzie talked to us today. He feels like they're close on defense to getting those turnovers. And we talked to Peter Skoronski. And, they're growing. And, yes, it is different. What they're being asked to do on the offensive line, it's not all the same thing. They just change the terminology. There are little techniques and things that are, whether it's outside zone runs, inside, there are some subtleties and differences from every offense. So they're working to learn those, and it is young. J.C. Latham,
and a lot of that stuff is just going to come from working together, and the only way to get there is to get out there and get there. But
exactly.
But backhanding interceptions to the field and rolling laterals, I'm just perplexed at that whole situation. And I got to let it go, I guess. But it's senseless to me.
It feels a little bit like when Jack Del Rio put a axe and a big chunk of wood in the Jaguars locker room. We got to just keep chopping wood. The problem is the punter at that time, because they had more time on their hands, went to go play with the axe, the big sharp thing in the locker room, and cut himself and couldn't play. I mean, sometimes, you can put everything in front of a player and they don't do what you want them to do. And, this is, any parent gets it. You don't have to be a coach.
David Cutcliffe, when he was offensive coordinator at the University of Tennessee, said any play that you still have possession of the ball at the end of it is a good play.
Again, another one of those things that sounds like a cliche, but it is, because it's true.
Cliches are cliches for a reason.
Ding, 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 ding. And if they can just get that through Will Levis's head, I mean, we've seen the arm. And Brian Callahan made it clear he doesn't have a problem with interceptions. And, could Traylon Burks have played that play a little differently? He is a big guy. Use your body. You'd like to see it. Worst case scenario, that ball hits the ground.
Right.
You don't want to see it end up in the other guy's hands. But Brian Callahan said, I will never yell it like that at Will Levis coming off the field after an interception, because he's trying to make a play. It's the ones where he's in the air, literally horizontal to the grass, and tries to shovel it. And yes, that ball went to a teammate, but you could tell he was not ready for it. And
why would he be?
It wasn't the play that was called. And while you'd love to see him fall on it, balls get very slippery and bouncy for a reason, especially footballs.
Absolutely. Wade, I apologize.
No, I was letting you cook, bro.
I've been on a
Twitter
rant.
feed was going ham, so I knew this was coming today.
I've been on a rant for this entire segment. Do you have anything you would like to ask Teresa?
The only thing I would say is this not exactly what you kind of expected or knew? Isn't this what Will Levis is? I mean, we've seen there's been a few other quarterbacks. What makes them so great is also what's going to get you in trouble. Brett Favre, for all of his successes, is going to get you in some sticky situations. I mean, Will Levis is not, to me, a prototypical drop back statue and just make the smart decision and the play be done quarterback. And the Titans and the Titans fans, whether they like it or not, have just bought a ticket to the roller coaster, and you're just going to have to ride it.
Ride the ride, huh?
My man dropped 2 passes in an absolute bucket yesterday, including the 1 touchdown to Ridley, which is insane.
I still don't know how he caught that ball.
But he makes some boneheaded plays, and that's just a part of the Will Levis experience. And unfortunately, the Titans fans are just on this roller coaster for now. And in a weird, sadistic way, I'd rather have this than, no offense to Mason Rudolph, but just drop, plain vanilla kind of Mason Rudolph. Give me a little excitement at least.
Well, here's the thing. Mason Rudolph was brought in to be the backup. They have to see what they have in Will Levis. This was just his 11th NFL start. Okay. And what killed Marcus Mariota? He had 4 different offensive coordinators in 4 seasons. I mean, you need to give a young quarterback, and by the way, I mean, how many coaches has Bryce Young now had? I mean, they talk about a roller coaster. It's been a carousel over in Carolina. Young quarterbacks do need to have some continuity. And Brian Callahan has worked with the likes of Joe Burrow at the start of his career. He's worked with Peyton Manning at the end of his career. He worked with Matthew Stafford in Detroit. So he has been around some great quarterbacks. He's been around some quarterbacks with live arms. He's been around quarterbacks who had to learn how to play NFL quarterback. And, so guess what? It is part of the ride. And, in live time, I'm still trying to figure out how Calvin Ridley came up with that touchdown. I thought it was an interception. And instead it ends up in the end zone. And then he drops one that hits him in the hands. So guess what? We're focused on Will Levis. Some of his teammates could give him a hand, literally.
Teresa Walker of the Associated Press joining us here on Main Street Sports today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. Teresa, as always, we appreciate it. Enjoy your pasta salad.
I will. And guys, pay attention to Saturday night. I can't wait to see what happens in Oklahoma real quickly. I mean, the fact that Josh Heupel's former coach, former boss, sends out a tweet and can't spell his name right. Yeah. Huepel.
Oh, I missed that. But
that was a pure coincidence. There's nothing malicious.
It is just an autocorrect, I'm sure. But
100%.
For the people who thought that the onside kick up 30 Saturday night was a bit much, if Tennessee gets up in Oklahoma, I am going to be looking for something. Just saying.
It might get a little salty out in Norman. Teresa, we appreciate it. We'll talk to you.
My pleasure. Thanks, guys.
All right. Hey, when we continue here on Main Street Sports Today, presented by TOA of Columbia, we will talk a little more NFL, including the quarterback situation over at Carolina that TERESA referenced, among other things. So stay tuned when we come back to the Lee Company studios after this.
Do you wanna be a bad man? Yes, you do. Do you wanna taste sweet salvation underneath the summer moon? Do you need another hand now? Yes, you do. Go see Miss Josie down on Columbus Avenue. All right, Columbus Avenue.
Welcome to JHA Company, your trusted scholastic partner. We continue to serve schools with yearbooks, letter jackets, and graduation regalia. But now we offer so much more. Our school photography division offers high-quality images that capture the spirit and energy of your students and staff. Let us help build your identity, creating a cohesive look that represents your school's values and traditions. Our e-commerce solutions make it easy for schools to manage and sell their branded apparel online. Let's work together to make every school year unforgettable. Visit our website or contact us today to learn more. JHA Company, celebrating achievements, building identities, and creating memories.
So Busy Bee is a very close-knit family. We fight just like every family does. We have arguments, but we always come out with a solution to the problems. We don't just fight about what we want, we fight about what customers need. We want to make sure that every customer we go to is more than satisfied. And that doesn't just start whenever we show up at their door, that starts when we show up every day at work. We want to make sure that we are serving our customers to the best of our ability.
With Lee Company technology, the best handymen are hands-off. Lee Company techs have been using visual findings and other smart technology tools for years to add transparency and virtually take customers along. You see what we see, whether we're in a crawl space or on a roof. With Lee Company, technology helps us help you, no matter what's happening in the world or at your house.
Whether you're an athlete or a weekend warrior, when it comes to your performance, don't settle for anything less than excellence. We're proud to announce that Mid-Tennessee Bone and Joint Clinic is now Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia, where we are redefining sports medicine and orthopedics. Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance's team of expert sports medicine physicians understands the unique demands of your body. TOA Columbia specializes in personalized orthopedic care, offering state-of-the-art treatments for everything from sports injuries to joint replacements. Learn more at toacolumbia.com. The Monday Mirror continues here on Main Street Sports Today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. That's Wade Neely. I'm Maurice Patton. We're coming to you from the Lee Company studios of our respective homes this Monday. And going to continue talking a little bit more NFL in this segment, particularly kind of a tale of two quarterbacks, I guess. Bryce Young, it has been announced, has been removed as the Carolina Panthers QB1, and Andy Dalton will get the start for Carolina this weekend. And it's a little ironic to me that the Panthers are making the move with Young when you consider the performance that Kyler Murray had yesterday in the Cardinals' 41-10 win over the Rams. Two guys who are a bit vertically challenged.
Yeah.
Both listed at 5'10", coming out of the NFL Combine in their respective prior to their respective rookie seasons. Murray, 17 of 21. 17 of 21 for 266 yards and 3 touchdowns. Also rushed for 59 yards. Finished with a perfect passer rating of 158.3. And I don't know how 158.3 is perfect, but
yeah,
the math really doesn't math there for me, but whatever. Became the second quarterback in the history of the National Football League to throw for 250 plus, rush for 50 or more, finish with a perfect passer rating. The only other guy to do that, former Cincinnati Bengals quarterback Ken Anderson in 1974. So it's been 50 years since somebody has put up those kind of numbers. Again, 17 of 21 for 266 and 3 touchdowns, 59 rushing yards, and a perfect passer rating. So is it as simple as asking, what is Arizona doing for their short quarterback that the Panthers aren't doing for their short quarterback?
I'm sure it's a little more intense than that, but I would say the simple answer is one team got Marvin Harrison Jr. and one team doesn't. And I know, and one team realized after week 1 when they didn't use him that they had him, and Arizona unleashed him with a flurry yesterday. Only had 4 catches, Mo, but 2 of them, for touchdowns. They were balling, and Murray, he's got just. I know Bryce Young is somewhat elusive, but Kyler Murray's got just an insane elusive ability. In the same mold, more on him later in the show, but Caleb Williams, who's not there yet by any stretch with his passing and his stats, but his ability to extend plays, Bryce Young has not been able to extend that concept into his NFL career, certainly to the way that Murray has done, because even though the Rams had him bottled up a couple different times, he's spinning out of trouble and getting out of danger. And this is all while he's spending, hours and hours playing Call of Duty. I mean, imagine how good Kyler Murray could be if he's not playing Call of Duty as well. He torched. I know the Rams are absolutely decimated with injuries right now, but, man, he torched them in a big way yesterday. That game was a bloodbath.
Murray throws for 266 yesterday against the Rams. Young has thrown for 245 in losses to New Orleans and the Chargers. 26-3 yesterday. Threw for 84 yards and had a pick yesterday after 2 interceptions, again, in that loss to New Orleans. But, I mean, he was the number 1 pick. Now, I guess he wasn't Dave Canale's number 1 pick, but he was the number 1 pick. I don't know if it's as simple as he can't see over his line, as was often the conjecture last season, or if he's not finding lanes to throw through, or if it's a lack of mobility, or what the situation, or maybe it's just that Carolina is bad. Again, like you said, they don't have a Marvin Harrison Jr. or anything close there too.
They had a Christian McCaffrey, which is close to a cheat code, and guess what? He ain't there no more. Yeah, they're bad, and I don't know if they are bad by design. I mean, when you might have saw the 9/11 tweets that the fans were commenting. They put out a tribute to 9/11 last week, and the fans were in the comments making jokes and saying that this is how they felt. And I mean, the fan base is absolutely beyond fed up, and it's unfortunate for Bryce Young, because it almost feels like we really don't have a true grasp on how good he could be.
I think there's a lot to that.
But we still don't have probably a pure sample. I don't think.
Exactly. I think you're absolutely right. So, yeah, it's a tough situation for Bryce Young to be in, because he's not gotten a whole lot of help. So it's tough.
And CJ Stroud is thinking, thank goodness. Sometimes you don't have to go number 1, baby.
Yeah. And I tell you, for the Panthers, watching CJ Stroud last night probably didn't help any either.
No. And I mean, think about somebody had posted the numbers, and I know Levis, didn't go in the first round, but they posted the numbers of those 4 guys. with Richardson also in the mix. And woof, CJ Stroud, he looks great on his own, but when you compare him to Young, Richardson, and Levis from last year's draft, oh my goodness, he looks like a first ballot Hall of Famer compared to what those guys have done thus far. I text Brad Willis I saw him at the game yesterday. I was talking to him and I said, we are not creating the bust in the Tennessee Sports Hall of Fame for Will Levis just yet. But if this were the Texans Hall of Fame, Bryce Young, or excuse me, CJ Stroud, we definitely, it looks like he's got a Canton Shrine already ready to go at this point.
You could be starting to gather those measurements. Absolutely. Staying in the quarterback realm, Thursday night in that Miami-Buffalo game, Tua Tagovailoa was concussed again. His status has not been determined at this point, but Miami signed a Pro Bowl quarterback today. Tyler Huntley, who was named to last year's Pro Bowl but was on Baltimore's practice squad. 2 years ago, made the Pro Bowl.
Yeah, he played like five games that year randomly and made the Pro Bowl still.
Yeah, because so many quarterbacks opted out and that kind of thing. So, it doesn't matter how he made the Pro Bowl. He made the Pro Bowl, and it's on his resume. And Miami just signed him off of Baltimore's practice squad. Now, whether he's going to come in and start in place of Tua, or if they're going to try to give Skylar Thompson. Okay, here we go. McDaniel said, despite bringing in another quarterback, made it clear Skylar Thompson will be the starter for Week 3 at Seattle, and that it's beneficial for the team to add someone with starting experience. Okay, so there we go. Skylar Thompson will get the start. Tyler Huntley will be the backup, and we'll see how long that lasts.
Yeah, this to me seems like potentially a one and done, because like we mentioned the other day, this is the Dolphins team that I don't think they're ready to throw in the towel in the season just yet. And so they, as big of a dreams and aspirations as they had, they're going to try and squeeze it out. By the way, though, good luck going to Seattle all the way from Miami and facing Mike McDonald and that new defense. Skylar Thompson, thoughts and prayers going into this weekend.
I'm telling you, I'm feeling bad for that broadcast crew with Mike McDaniel and Mike McDonald as your two coaches.
No thanks on that. But yeah, the Dolphins, they get a little dose of their own medicine. We talk about the teams coming to them, which somebody pointed out, by the way. Big break for the Bills that it was a night game on Thursday Night Football. They didn't get the noon Sunday sweltering Miami Heat. They got the nice cozy Thursday night game. And in that big win, but the Dolphins get to reverse this. They got to go to Seattle. That's going to be a tough road next week, no matter who.
That's got to be the toughest trip in the league, doesn't it?
I would imagine. Yeah, I think that's got to be your furthest distance for sure.
Yeah, maybe San Diego to New England. I don't know, but that's Seattle to Miami. That's a lot. Wrapping up hour number one of Main Street Sports today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. When we come back for hour number two, we'll talk a little baseball. Stay tuned when we return to the Lee Company studios after this. Whether you're an athlete or a weekend warrior, when it comes to your performance, don't settle for anything less than excellence. We're proud to announce that Mid-Tennessee Bone and Joint Clinic is now Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia, where we are redefining sports medicine and orthopedics. Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance's team of expert sports medicine physicians understands the unique demands of your body. TOA Columbia specializes in personalized orthopedic care, offering state-of-the-art treatments for everything from sports injuries to joint replacements. Learn more at toacolumbia.com.
With Lee Company technology, the best handymen are hands-off. Lee Company techs have been using visual findings and other smart technology tools for years to add transparency and virtually take customers along. You see what we see, whether we're in a crawl space or on a roof. With Lee Company, technology helps us help you. no matter what's happening in the world or at your house.
Jones & Lang Sporting Goods here in Columbia has been outfitting teams, officials, and anybody else from T-ball to college for 50-plus years. Be sure and check them out at 931-388-8060 or online at jonesandlang.com. Jones & Lang Sporting Goods, the look of a winner.
Zion Christian Academy, zioneagles.org or 931-388-5731. You can schedule your appointment. Go tour their campus. It is beautiful over there, and you're definitely going to want to see it. Again, it's zioneagles.org. Give them a call, 931-388-5731, and schedule your tour today.
So, you want to be a part of the Busy Bee team, huh? Well, how do you see yourself fitting into the organization? Oh, I get it. You want to be a weather bee.
Custom Stone Handler supplies over 600 distributors and suppliers with quality stone products. Along with River Stone, we produce and distribute over 100 building, landscape, and other bulk products. Our goal is to provide quality products, service, and partnerships to ensure our customers' success. We firmly believe that the measure of any person or company is how they treat other people and customers. Give them a call at 931-490-4990 or visit CustomStonehandlers.com.
Piggly Wiggly, located in Neely's Mill Shopping Center, is Columbia's locally owned and operated Cost Plus 10 grocery store dedicated to serving the community with low prices and smiling faces. Piggly Wiggly offers fresh, hand-cut meats daily as well as daily hot plate lunches from their deli counter. You're certain to see smiling faces and a helping hand when you're here at Piggly Wiggly. Come by and check out our fresh produce, high-quality meats, and more. Down home, down the street, we'll see you at the Pig.
November 16, 2009, Peter Moylan worked a scoreless seventh inning in the Braves' 6-5 win over the visiting Mets, marking his 75th consecutive appearance without allowing a home run to start the season, and breaking the record set 2 years earlier by Baltimore's Chad Bradford. That was this day in Braves history. 75 appearances out of the bullpen without giving up a home run.
Ooh, mama.
Yeah, that's impressive for the Aussie, the dude from down under, Peter Moylan, Braves legend. They gave up a few home runs out of the bullpen last night, particularly late. A 7-run top of the ninth undid the Braves in a 9-2 loss to the Dodgers. First loss of the series. So the Braves go into tonight's 6:40 matchup between Yoshinobu Yamamoto and Max Fried with a chance to win this series, which is something I never would have expected.
Yeah, you're playing with house money, as they like to say, right?
Yeah, I mean, the worst thing that can happen is you split. I mean, the Braves need to win more than they lose pretty much the rest of the way here to have a shot at, you know, this wild card situation. They are currently tied with the Mets for that final wild card spot by virtue of having taken 2 of 3 from the Dodgers over the weekend. Again, 6-2 on Friday night. Was trying to keep up with that while I was covering Mount Pleasant and Harpeth. 10-1 on Saturday, as that one just kind of turned into a laugher. But then last night, and it got away from Raziel Iglesias, and I'm never going to fault that dude with the performance that he has put up all year long. But sometimes baseball just catches up with you, and you know, it did in the form of the Dodgers offense last night. So you just kind of got to shake that one off. And
playing with house money. And, hey, Ohtani, he ain't going to – I mean, unless he smacks 3 and steals 2 tonight, he's not going to get the 50-50 versus the Braves like you thought.
He's not. And, you know,
whatever that's worth.
Small victories. Victories.
That's true. I understand. Fair enough.
I mean, you'll take it. He's got to hold that celebration off a little bit longer and go somewhere else to do it. So doesn't get to celebrate it. Not at our house, you know. But Yeah,
Most likely in their next series. I just pulled it up. They're at the Marlins right after this. So, batting practice for Ohtani coming up soon.
Ooh, yeah, that could be it. That could be it. So, I mean, the Braves are still hanging in there. They are still playing for something. Ideally, they can continue to keep this thing close until the Mets come to town next week. And, if they can do that, I'll take my chances once they get here.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, let's see. After tonight, they go to Cincinnati for 3. They go to Miami for 3. Then they come home and they've got the Mets next Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. I might be coming down with something midweek next week, just for what it's worth. You mentioned it in the rundown, Wade. Big weekend for your Astros.
Another one of those series, man. Once football gets going, it's tough to keep tabs on the boys. And I'm not gonna lie, I didn't even realize who they were playing until this weekend. And I kind of looked at the schedule and I was like, all right, well, hopefully, kind of like the Athletics, and kind of like some of the other, not as bad as the White Sox, but kind of like the A's. That's one of those you're thinking, all right, we should be able to take care of business. And so, yeah, get a couple of nice wins. I did get another notification from ESPN. The headline reads, what is Verlander's status going to be for a potential playoff situation? He basically got another start, maybe 2, it sounds like, to kind of get things righted and put himself back in position to potentially be in that starting rotation. If not, they could have a wild holder or a bridge relief pitcher, I guess. It's interesting times right now for them coming down the stretch with a 4.5 game lead on the Mariners at the moment.
Yeah, I mean, the Mariners are keeping the pressure on. I mean, you're not picking up any space on them because they seem to be matching y'all on a day-to-day basis. So that kind of makes it a little tough, but you do have that 4.5 game cushion. So now, are y'all done with Seattle?
That's a good question. We'll do a quick Google. Getting ready to do my daily citation of Fangraphs. 96.7% to win the division at this moment. So it would take them falling off a cliff to lose it, but they have fallen off a cliff, and we've seen teams fall off a cliff. Playing the Padres for a couple here. Got the Angels again. Do have a 3-game set with the Mariners this time next week, and then closing with the Guardians. So one playoff team for sure, and one potential playoff team in the Mariners. Yeah, it'd be not the easiest stretch. You got the Angels twice coming down the stretch here, and then you got the sneaky good Padres, and then the Mariners and the Guardians. It'd be a fun next couple of weeks getting into postseason.
Where is that Mariners series?
As I instantly had closed that out, I wanted to say I just saw it was in Seattle, but let me pull that back up here because that is not going to be – that place will be raucous if that's it's in Houston.
Oh, okay.
Next Monday night, next Tuesday night, and then a day game next Wednesday.
Okay, so you get a little bit of a break anyway.
That place will be rocking. And Hayward hit one yesterday. It was only listed at 410 feet, but I swear he hit it to Beijing. He absolutely tattooed one to kind of get things cranked up. I think it was in the bottom of the first.
When he gets it just right, man, he with his leverage, he can hit a baseball a long way. You guys are at Petco again, 8:40 start. Yu Darvish going for the host Padres, 5-3 with a 3.52 ERA. It's your boy Spencer Adighetti, 7-12 with a 4.72 going for the Astros as they try to get that series started off right. Again,
man, Yu Darvish, my favorite Astro of all time, and he didn't even play for him. Versus the Dodgers. Sweet you serving up meatballs left and right to Houston in one of the World Series games there. Never forget it.
Every now and then you got to have one of those.
I mean, hey, you put plaques of people in your Hall of Fame. It doesn't necessarily have to be your guys though.
Your guys.
He hooked us up something fierce. That was beautiful.
There you go. Again, Yamamoto 6-2 with a 2.77 getting the start for the Dodgers tonight. Down at Truist, it's Max Fried 9-9 with a 3.46. Getting the series finale going for the Braves tonight. So one mention from Saturday night that, when we sometimes we miss out on stuff on these weekend games, but tip of the hat to Chris Sale, who may very well have wrapped up the NL Cy Young Award and put a bow on it Saturday night. Again, he goes, 6 innings? I think it was 6 innings, 6 strikeouts, scattered 5 hits, gave up the 1 run, but he is the Triple Crown leader. He leads the National League in wins, strikeouts, and ERA. If he's not the Cy Young winner, I really don't know who is. And I don't know that anybody else does either at this point.
Yeah, he's massively favored. Zach Wheeler, the only one that's even remotely close, and it ain't that close.
Yeah. And the
Paul
only thing
Skeens has a better shot of winning, I believe, the Rookie of the Year than Zach Wheeler does of beating Sale, and that ain't much of a chance. It's Sales to lose, which is wild. Like I said before, it's 60-1 in the preseason or before the year started.
There is an article. It's behind a paywall, unfortunately, but ESPN has on its ESPN Plus. Did Chris Sale pitch himself into the Hall of Fame in 2024? Which is, it's got to be tough for Boston Red Sox fans to see these kind of articles. But from 12 to 18, he was one of the best pitchers in baseball, really, and then went through a slew of injuries, obviously. And again, he would become the first Triple Crown winner for a pitcher since Verlander and Kershaw did it in 2011, and Skubal is on tap to do it as well for the Tigers. Yeah. He's just the third left-handed pitcher with at least 8 200 strikeout seasons. Randy Johnson, Steve Carlton are the other 2, and I had never really thought about Sale as a Hall of Famer, and I guess maybe it was because he was pitching in the American League and I wasn't paying as much attention. But when you kind of look at the numbers and look at who you're mentioning him with some of these numbers, I think that's one of the biggest things is what you did relative to your peers and that kind of thing. And when you're talking about, when you're mentioning somebody in the same breath with Justin Verlander and Clayton Kershaw, who you feel are going to be Hall of Famers, and when you're mentioning somebody in the same breath with Randy Johnson and Steve Carlton, who are Hall of Famers, maybe he does have a legitimate candidacy there.
How old did we say he is?
How old is he? That's a good question.
Like 38. That's a pure guess.
Yeah,
younger than that.
35. Yeah. So I mean, he's still got some time to continue to put up some numbers. So yeah, that's
I mean, currently 137 career wins. I mean, you could maybe dare to dream about 200 at 35 years old.
Yeah. What'd you say, 137?
137 and 83.
So he's 63 away from 200. I mean, 4 more years of 15 each. That doesn't quite get you there, but 5 more years with 12-ish. Yeah. I mean, and the thing is, because he's been so injured, maybe his arm is a little bit fresher now. I don't know. It's an interesting conversation as you continue to kind of consider that, I guess. Let's go ahead and take a break here on Main Street Sports today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. When we return to the Lee Company studios, we're going to talk a little Tennessee football with Caleb JARREAU of the UT Daily Beacon. So stay with us after this.
We thrive under the lights. A city of performers. Putting on one heck of a show. Headlining night after night. Welcome to Smashville.
Whether you're an athlete or a weekend warrior, when it comes to your performance, don't settle for anything less than excellence. We're proud to announce that Mid-Tennessee Bone and Joint Clinic is now Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia, where we are redefining sports medicine and orthopedics. Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance's team of expert sports medicine physicians understands the unique demands of your body. TOA Columbia specializes in personalized orthopedic care, offering state-of-the-art treatments for everything from sports injuries to joint replacements. Learn more at toacolumbia.com.
With Lee Company technology, the best handymen are hands-off. Lee Company techs have been using visual findings and other smart technology tools for years to add transparency and virtually take customers along. You see what we see, whether we're in a crawl space or on a roof. With Lee Company, technology helps us help you, no matter what's happening in the world or at your house.
Jones & Lang Sporting Goods here in Columbia has been outfitting teams, officials, and anybody else from T-ball to college for 50 plus years. Be sure and check them out at 931-388-8060 or online at jonesandlang.com. Jones & Lang Sporting Goods, the look of a winner.
Zion Christian Academy, zioneagles.org or 931-388-5731. You can schedule your appointment. Go tour their campus. It is beautiful over there, and you're definitely going to want to see it. Again, it's zioneagles.org. Give them a call, 931-388-5731, and schedule your tour today.
Piggly Wiggly, located in Neely's Mill Shopping Center, is Columbia's locally owned and operated Cost Plus 10 grocery store dedicated to serving the community with low prices and smiling faces. Piggly Wiggly offers fresh, hand-cut meats daily, as well as daily hot plate lunches from their deli counter. You're certain to see smiling faces and a helping hand when you're here at Piggly Wiggly. Come by and check out our fresh produce, high-quality meats, and more. Down home, down the street, we'll see you at the Pig.
He shoots, and he scores!
Back to the Monday Mirror edition of Main Street Sports Today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. I'm Maurice Patton, along with Wade Neely. We're coming to you from the Lee Company studios of our respective homes, and we are joined now from somewhere on I-75 by Caleb JARREAU of the UT Daily Beacon. Caleb is going where a good friend wanted me to go tonight, but duty called. Caleb is going to check out the series finale between the Braves and the Dodgers, and I will tell you, I'm a little jelly. So bring back a win.
Yeah, I figured you guys would be a little bit jealous of us heading down to the Braves games, but what do you say? How is everybody?
Well, we're good. We're good. We want to talk to you about another recent excursion of yours, but we're going to hold off on that because you snuck over to Paris on us apparently, but we want to get more on that later. Right now, I assume you were at Neyland Stadium for Saturday night's debacle.
Yeah, I think debacle is a good way to put that one. Trouncing would be another adjective to describe that game, but 71 points on any team is great. First time Heupel's beat 70, but lots of records with halves and yards and touchdowns. And Kent State will probably be the worst team Tennessee faces this season. So I don't know how much you actually want to take away from that game, but that was definitely a rough one to watch. And Kent State declined shortened quarters in the second half. So they wanted to play it all the way through.
Shocking move.
Yeah.
Well, but I mean, kudos to them. I mean, sometimes all you got is your pride. I mean, this is what we signed up for. We're going to give you 60 minutes of us. And so, I mean, I don't know.
And they got to go to Penn State this weekend.
They got what's left of them has to go. What's left of them has to go to Penn State Saturday. So
yeah, they got their money's worth for that bye game for sure in Neyland Stadium.
They put their work in. It's interesting though. While Kent State took it on the chin, the Mid-American Conference was not kind to everybody in the Southeastern Conference this weekend. How about Toledo going to Starkville and picking up a convincing 41-17 win over Mississippi State?
Yeah, I saw somebody tweet on Saturday night. It was a screenshot of Tennessee's score next to Toledo beating up on Mississippi State, and it was like one of these MAC teams is not like the other. But I think what makes that even worse is this weekend now you have Florida going to Starkville, so that'll be a very ugly matchup there, and you just see kind of the tiers of SEC teams starting to slot themselves in this time of year.
Yeah, you have to wonder who all is going to be on that plane trip from Gainesville to Starkville as well. I'm wondering if something's going to happen this week with regards to that certain Florida team that you were referring to. But, Tennessee, 71 points this weekend against Kent State, 69 a couple of weeks ago against Chattanooga. Pretty convincing win over in Charlotte in between over NC State. And so they are number 6 in the country right now, and they are a touchdown favorite going to Oklahoma. I'm not sure anybody necessarily expected Tennessee to be favored in this game at the onset of the season.
Yeah, I think you look at the body of work for both teams and you can see where that point total comes from. Just Oklahoma, neither team has really played quality opponents. Yes, NC State is an ACC team, but after the way they played against Tennessee and then this weekend as well, you can say it's probably not the highest quality opponent you can play. But you look at Oklahoma, like this weekend, struggled with Tulane a little bit before putting them away late in the game. That Houston win was not very convincing for the Sooners. And you look at Tennessee, both of their bye games thus far, they've taken care of, as well as a neutral site matchup. So I'm not surprised as much to see Tennessee favored after the 3 wins that they've picked up and how convincing they've been, but it will definitely be the biggest test for the Vols thus far, especially for young quarterback Nico Iamaleava, basically going into the belly of the beast in an away environment that Oklahoma will show out for, not just because of Heupel's history, but also because they want to get put on the SEC scene themselves.
Yeah, first ever SEC game for them, Caleb. And also, I don't know how many folks still think about those 2 games they played in 14 and 15. But friends of mine that went to that game in Neyland in 15 say that was the loudest. They lose in double overtime, the loudest that stadium has been. It feels like Oklahoma, in a weird way, they don't get to play the underdog very role, and they suddenly find themselves in that role. I'm curious. And you kind of walk down that path. I'm curious just to see how they show up emotionally and mentally, because Tennessee on paper clearly is the better team thus far.
Yeah, you mentioned it there. That underdog role is not something they've taken since 1998. I saw on Twitter this morning, and what team won the championship in 1998? And then looking back to those 14-15 games, I don't know how many fans remember them, but we were talking about it this morning before Heupel's presser. But that 15 game should have been a Tennessee win with Josh Dobbs, and he kind of choked that game away, and Tennessee didn't win that game. I don't know how many fans will remember that game coming into this weekend. I think it's more just both teams want to get off on the right foot for an SEC play. I think Oklahoma will show out. College game day will be there. There'll be a lot of fanfare in Norman, Oklahoma. And that's where Tennessee kind of needs to show up. Is Nico said he likes to play in away environments, and the way that offense operates is usually crowd noise doesn't affect it as much just because of how quick they're moving. There's really no time for play calls to even come in. It's all hand signals. They're rolling. They've got 4 or 5 plays scripted. So you'll really Nico and this offense is made of. And I'm more curious, truthfully, to see if the defensive line travels, because if that defense travels to Norman and puts a hurting on Jackson Arnold like they have the previous 3 opponents, then I think you can really solidify Tim Banks' defense and Rodney Garner's defensive line as one of the best in the country. So it's going to be a lot of questions on both sides of the ball. And I think when you get in an away environment, one mistake can quickly snowball. But we'll see what happens. Still, a young quarterback hasn't played an away game. So all the coaches and players are confident that Nico won't be rattled by an away environment, but we haven't seen it yet on paper or in person at all.
Real quick, guys, while we mention that, I just got to point out, this is one of the all-time great box scores. I'm pulling it up from 2015. Baker Mayfield versus Josh Dobbs. The running backs for Oklahoma, Samaje Perine, Joe Mixon. For the Vols, you got Jalen Hurd. You also got a guy by the name of Alvin Kamara playing in the running back position. And then you also got Jawan Jennings out there for Tennessee. So it's just kind of a cool time capsule to see the last time these teams met, how much NFL talent currently still was on the field in that game.
It also begs the question of why was Alvin Kamara not utilized at Tennessee like he is now in the NFL?
That's a great question.
Yeah, because you had a lot of people you were trying to keep happy at the time, and man, the coaching staff did not do a very good job of that. So, yeah. I think Josh Heupel probably would have handled that a little bit better. But at any rate, Caleb JARREAU of the UT Daily Beacon joining us here on Main Street Sports today. Caleb, I had something I was going to ask you, and I lost it just that quick. You know, where do you feel like this thing swings Saturday, just from the standpoint that, you know, it's a big game for Nico, first road game and that kind of thing in a hostile environment. But like you said, Oklahoma has struggled a little bit, and Jackson Arnold has not necessarily been fantastic.
Yeah, I think I slotted in my score prediction earlier today for our print edition. Somewhere like 35-17 Tennessee is where I lean, just because the aspects of Tennessee that have worked well the first 3 weeks are not aspects that I worry will lack on the road. For example, defensive line, like I mentioned, that linebacker core. Secondary hasn't really been tested, but you know that front 6, front 7, and that Tim Banks defense has played well. You've got a lot of veterans too, guys that come to mind like Amari Thomas or Keenan Peely, who have played in away environments and know what that will be like. Going to the offensive side of the ball, you've got veteran offensive linemen who have dealt with away environments. You know, I think in the Florida game last year, which is one of the loudest football games I'd ever been in a stadium for, they ended up losing that game, but I don't think it was the offensive line's fault as much as quarterback play in that game. So you've got veterans who have been in these environments before who can help Nico Iamaleava along his way if he needs it. But then you also have that run game, which has been very explosive through the first 3 weeks with Dylan Sampson in the backfield. He's already halfway to the single-season program record for touchdowns on the ground. And if that ground game is working, then the offense will follow right along with it. So I would say 35-17, somewhere in that category, probably leaning Tennessee's way. Now, obviously, they could go on the field and just absolutely, you know, fall off the wayside like Florida last year. But I don't see that happening with Nico and this offense as much as it did last year. And you also see with this offense in, you know, the NC State game, they ran a lot of 12 personnel because that's what NC State's defense was giving them. So they had 2 tight ends on the field, taking kind of the dink and dunk and running the ball up the middle. And then last week, against a lesser opponent in Kent State, they ran 4 wide and kind of threw the ball down the field and got vertical a lot more. So you've seen a lot of different fits from this offense depending on what the defense throws at them. So I feel like they'll have an answer for whatever Oklahoma puts on the field and, you know, go from there and score some touchdowns. So I think the defense will travel and then they'll go from there.
I was just getting ready to mention Dylan Sampson and his ability to maybe take a little pressure off of Nico if necessary. He's really been dynamic thus far in this season for the Vols.
Yeah, and you mentioned it a second ago that you thought Heupel would handle, you know, multiple running backs better than, you know, previous coaches at Tennessee, and this is an example of that. Dylan Sampson was probably maybe second string some games, third string most games. Like, he didn't even get a carry in that Florida game last year that they lost. But he waited his turn and was promised a starting role, and now that he has it, he is making the most of those opportunities. He's got kind of an Alvin Kamara play style where he can come out of the backfield, catch a pass, and be explosive in the middle of the field. But still, if you run the ball up the middle, he can read a hole and hit it quick and get up the field. So he's a guy that's found pay dirt a lot. He runs, you know, good pad level works this offense. And the big thing in Heupel's offense is that everything keeps moving forward. And you see that this year with Nico especially. It reminds me kind of Hendon Hooker days in this offense where if the pass is not there or the first or second reader is covered, Nico will run and get you 5 yards. Dylan Sampson is not going to, fall backwards. He's going to fall forwards every play and get you at least 2 or 3. So this offense is not getting behind the chains, and they keep moving forward, and that's where that efficiency comes from. That last year I feel like he lacked with Joe Milton III at quarterback, where sometimes it felt like he was trying to force a ball, and all of a sudden you get 2, 3 incompletions pile up on seconds, or he'll take a sack when the read wasn't there. Nico doesn't really do that. Sometimes he's scramble happy, but still he's getting forward and getting yards. Scramble drill has worked great, especially Squirrel White said that was something they worked on a lot in the offseason with Nico was the scramble drill. If he gets out of the pocket, you see the receivers going with him. There's good chemistry there. So the offense is working a lot more efficiently and a lot quicker than it did last year. And I think that'll pay off, especially when you get in an environment with like Oklahoma, where they could probably go in and do what they did to LSU last year and put up, 2 or 3 scores quick. And all of a sudden you're not worried about an away crowd because they're out of it already.
Caleb JARREAU of the UT Daily Beacon joining us here on Main Street Sports today, presented by Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. Caleb, you've had a chance to spend a little time around Coach Heupel. How petty is Josh?
Yeah, I think today in his press conference, I will give him credit. He didn't act like there was any ill will towards Oklahoma taking this trip. But I feel like there is a little bit of him that knows his history at Oklahoma, which was good and then which was not so good when he was fired, I think it was 2015, 16, that time period. He's going to want to get this win. He's got some personal motivation to get this win. And, we even saw it a little bit, truthfully, against Kent State. And, in past games, Missouri comes to mind, where if he's up and the offense is rolling, he's not really going to take his foot off the gas pedal. He's going to keep going, keep getting guys reps, keep scoring touchdowns. I don't know if petty's the right word. I think he's ultra competitive would be the better way to put it probably, but he's going to go into Oklahoma, I feel like, with a little personal motivation that he probably doesn't have for just a normal road game and want to, show out. He's going to have a lot of friends and family there as well. He mentioned that he's already gotten texts and calls from friends in Norman who wanted to, talk to him when he got there. So I think it'll be a good homecoming for Heupel, but one that he especially wants to leave with a win.
Well, I'm thinking after this text or after this tweet from his coach, Bob Stoops, it may go from competitive to petty, perhaps. Yeah. Last night, I guess it was, and TERESA Walker mentioned this during her segment with us earlier in the show. Stoops, at Coach Bob Stoops, puts out a tweet having a strong history with both Brent Venables and Josh Heupel, Huepel, as players/coaches has led to far too many requests for interviews, some respectfully declining them all. All attention needs to be on those 2 coaches and their programs. Again, misspells Heupel's name. I have great respect for both coaches. I'm grateful for their great work here at OU. Brett, as a coach here for 13 years, including our national championship in 2000. Josh is our 2000 national championship quarterback and a coach for 10 years. I've often said he is the MVP of all my recruits because he was the catalyst that got us started in 99. His MVP, but he can't remember how to spell his name. Now,
yeah, and the guy who brought him a championship too, and was Heisman runner-up.
Now again, maybe it was a typo, maybe it was an autocorrect, but that's why you read back over this stuff, because this is out here and it's not going anywhere. Is Josh at all? I know in his list of priorities, this isn't the first time his name has been misspelled, but might be the first time it's been misspelled by a former coach.
Yeah, and there's a video circulating when they beat Kentucky, might have been last year or a couple of years ago, when Willie Martinez, who also coached with Heupel at Oklahoma, they overlapped for a couple of years, ran up and gave Heupel a big hug right after that win. Neither of them will come out and say it, but you wonder if there was a little bit of extra motivation there in that hug, or if there's a little bit of extra, celebrating after that win, knowing they got a win over one of the Stoops. But I think, like I said, they want to win this game. They want to win it by a lot, and players aren't going to say it. Heupel's not going to say it, but there's a little bit of extra juice going into this one with their history.
Absolutely. Tell us about Paris.
Yeah, Paris is super cool. First off, And possibly most importantly, it was like 73 degrees and sunny the whole trip. Can't complain there. But,
I love that.
Yeah, we got to travel. Me and a group of students from the University of Tennessee got to travel with and cover the Paralympics for USA Today, and that was super cool. I was texting Teresa a good bit, asking for travel advice because she was in Paris for the Olympics, which wrapped up like a week before we left. So I was asking her what to pack, what it was like, all the details about covering an event like that. But it was really cool. I ended up seeing, I think, 9 or 10 venues. So we made a trip out to Versailles, France to see the equestrian venue and the palace. And track, got to see wheelchair basketball, wheelchair rugby, all those great venues. So it was really awesome to see all the history, go to the Louvre, Eiffel Tower, all the touristy things as well. So we did a lot in a little bit amount of time and got to tell some cool stories on the road as well.
That's pretty impressive. Had you been to Paris before, Caleb?
I had never left the country before, so I had to get a passport and get it expedited to even get the credential to go to Paris. So the 8-hour flight was a little eye-opening on the way there, but no, that was my first time ever leaving the country, and Paris was a pretty cool place to go.
That's for a budding, well, I don't even want to call you a budding journalist at this point. For a young journalist, though, that's got to be pretty cool, and I imagine it kind of whets your appetite for more of that kind of thing. But I'm glad you were able to take part in something like that, and obviously a great resume builder for you, I would imagine.
Yeah, that was my first time ever working beside international journalists. So it was cool to see that as well. Like, most press box events are next to maybe ESPN or national outlets, but at the Open, there was a guy next to me didn't even speak English, and the guy next to me was from England, where an international event and all the fanfare there as well. Because anytime a French team was competing or a French athlete was there, they were going absolutely nuts. And they don't play their national anthem at events like we do. Obviously, before every game in America, you hear the Star Spangled Banner. Over there, they don't do that. So when they would play the national anthem after a gold medalist or before a basketball game, the fans would go nuts for it because
Caleb, are you still there?
Yeah, you got me?
Yeah, we got you now. We lost you there momentarily. I'm sure it's got something to do with you being in motion, but again, that sounds like a fantastic experience, and glad you were able to partake in that. And so you kind of got some bragging rights over some folks coming back this year.
Yeah, hopefully. I definitely have a pretty cool experience and a free 2 weeks off of school, so I won't complain.
That's a hidden perk of the whole shebang, right?
There you go. Y'all were in class at that point?
Yeah, so we started August 19th, maybe. So we were in class a week, and then we left for 2 weeks after that. But all the professors didn't give us much trouble, which I don't know how you can. We're going to Paris.
It was awful kind of them. Yeah.
Yeah.
I know, yeah.
Sorry I couldn't make class. I was in Paris working. Yeah. Well, cool. Caleb JARREAU of the UT Daily Beacon joining us here on Main Street Sports today, heading to Truist Park for the finale of the Dodgers-Braves series. Caleb, bring back a win.
Awesome. Thanks for having me on, guys.
All right. We'll talk to you. When we return to the Lee Company studios here on Main Street Sports today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia, it's a grab bag. We'll talk a little bit more college football, among other things. Stick around and see what else we get into for the final segment after this.
So, you want to be a part of the Busy Bee team, huh? Well, how do you see yourself fitting into the organization? Oh, I get it. You want to be a weather bee.
The final segment of the Monday Mirror here on Main Street Sports Today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. I'm Maurice Patton. That's Wade Neely. We're coming to you from the Lee Company studios of our homes this afternoon, and want to kind of continue the college football conversation here, because scrolling through Twitter as we are wont to do, at Tiger Pride 53 tweeted out a little bit ago that the SEC's freshman of the week is Texas A&M quarterback Marcel Reed. Now, Tiger Pride 53 is former Tennessee State linebacker and coach Rod Reed. So I'm sure Papa Reed is a little excited about this one, has been all weekend. Marcel got the start down at the Swamp for Texas A&M in that 33-20 win against Florida. 11 of 17 for 178, 2 touchdowns, also rushed for 83 yards and a touchdown on 13 carries. And if I'm Connor Weigman, I'm trying to get back, because I'm not sure the Aggies would miss him very greatly.
Yeah, Reed. I mean, Texas A&M is in a position, right, that you're just looking for wins. And to me, it seems like whoever is giving you the best chance to win, we're just riding with that. They're not in, they're not in this long-term building project mode, in my opinion. I think they're taking wins any way they can get them at this moment, even though Elko just arrived.
And I don't think they're beholden to anybody either. I mean, like you said, Elko just arrived, so he's not got any kind of allegiances to anybody other than folks that can win some ball games. And so, again, Marcel kind of putting himself even more in the mix there, I would think, out in College Station with this performance on the road, snapping a 10-game SEC road game losing streak for the Aggies with that 33-20 victory. By the way, Marcel shared freshman of the week honors with Texas quarterback Arch Manning. Manning was 9 of 12 for 223, 4 touchdowns, ran for a 67-yard touchdown in the Longhorns' 56-7 win over Texas San Antonio. But,
not quite to the level of Connor Weigman, but the Ewers crowd is they're just a little antsy right now.
Things getting interesting in Austin all of a sudden, huh?
Yeah, I know it was UTSA, but man, Manning looked pretty good. The first time A. Manning has ever looked good running the football last weekend.
You got that right. That must have been Mon's genes. Yeah. Well, now Arch's dad Cooper was a receiver.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
He comes from the
athletic. He comes from the athletic build in the family.
Yeah, he probably had some wheels, relative to Peyton and Eli in particular. But big performance from both those youngsters in Saturday's victories. So congrats to them. Speaking of Texas A&M, speaking of the Swamp, does Billy Napier make it to this Mississippi State game this weekend?
At this point, I think yes. But Saturday night, around, 10 or 11 o'clock, when I started getting seeing the tweets that, the Board of Trustees were meeting first thing in the morning, I said, this is not good. And then, Sunday, kind of hearing some tea leaves and kind of wondering, what's going to happen. And I don't know. I was kind of really shocked that it didn't come down yesterday. And so if it didn't come down, I don't think you're going to make a decision. If he makes it through today, it feels like he's going to be safe for at least this week. And then after that, we'll just see what happens.
Yeah, I think that's probably a good read. If it doesn't happen today, it's probably not going to happen this week. But yeah, again, lost 33-20 to A&M, the first win on the road in conference play in 11 games for A&M, and just never really looked very good in the process. I think, again, with Texas A&M starting a redshirt freshman at quarterback, I think A&M was up 20-0 at one point in this ball game, and it just never really looked like Florida was in it. So coming off of that 41-7 season opening loss to Miami, that's a bad combination. So maybe not today, but Billy Napier appears to be on borrowed time down at Florida. Again, number one on the coach's hot seat on coacheshotseat.com right now. Mike Norvell, 10th on that list, by the way.
But warming up.
He's number 10 with a bullet for sure after that 20-12 loss to Memphis. I mean, we thought that it could happen, but the way it happened, I mean, Memphis just controlled that game from start to finish, man.
Yep. Honestly, it was similar to the loss to Boston College. On the first drive of the Boston College game, they were running some wheel routes and kind of quote-unquote trick plays. And you're thinking, okay, they're just, trying to catch Florida State off guard. But then on drives 2, 3, and beyond, their offensive line was just whipping Florida State. And it was kind of the same deal with Memphis. Memphis's front line was just whipping the Seminoles up front. And, I mean, that alone right there tells you the state of the program. They're just getting beat up front. For all the talk about their defensive line and how good their defensive line historically has been over the years. They're just getting mashed and bullied right now. They might lose an ACC game to Cal on Saturday if they ain't careful.
Cal
got another win this week. I mean, talk about a wild situation if Cal goes in to Tallahassee and beats Florida State.
That might force some things to take place.
I got their schedule pulled up. They go to SMU for another conference game the next week, and then they have Clemson the week after that. And Clemson is all of a sudden back from the dead. So if Florida State doesn't win this weekend, yikes.
Yeah. This week's AP Top 25. Did Texas take over the number one spot, or did Georgia give up the number one spot with that 13-12 win at Kentucky?
Little bit of both. In my opinion. Texas is legit and worthy, in my opinion, of being number one, but they had to have a little help from Georgia to pull it away from them, in my estimation. And Georgia had it. They certainly got a scare, and still not real sure what the coaching staff for Kentucky was kind of thinking or doing. It was kind of like Sean Payton yesterday. You got what you wanted. You got the ball back with about 30 seconds left to win the game. And good luck doing that, going the length of the field. So it felt like a little bit of both. Texas felt like they firmly stamped their case, but it also felt like Georgia gave it away a little bit for that number one spot.
There we go.
To me,
yeah. Your Wolverines will be starting a different quarterback against Southern Cal.
Yeah, time to make a change. And Orgy has been kind of trotted out as a little bit of a gimmick almost, just because he's been so erratic passing. But then Saturday versus Arkansas State, he was the only one that threw a touchdown. Had a 9-yard touchdown. Davis Warren had 3 picks. So this is going to be an ugly, low-scoring game, I think. And if Michigan can keep USC really limited, they'll have a chance to win even with Orgy. But like I said about Levis earlier, just you're buying a ticket to the roller coaster right now, because it is going to be up and down with the quarterback play this season for those guys.
A'ja Wilson became the WNBA's first 1,000-point scorer in the league's history. We knew she was. I mean, it comes as no shock. The Aces defeated Connecticut 84-71. She scored 29 points in the win. Or she needed 29 points to get to the milestone, and got it late in the fourth. Trying to see that's what she finished with. So she's right at 1,000. The Aces with 2 games remaining in the schedule. So be interesting what that number winds up being for the regular season. But Wilson scored 29 points along with 9 rebounds, 3 assists, and 2 blocks and the Surging Aces are 7-1 over their last 8 games now. So she scored 1,000. Again, we talked about this last week. Jewel Lloyd was the previous record holder. She and Brianna Stewart had each scored 939 last season, but with the 40-game schedule, that kind of helped a bit. But being Asia Wilson helped as well.
Ain't no doubt about it. And yeah, they're starting to click. Lost to the Liberty a couple days ago, but then played a back-to-back essentially, Wednesday, Friday versus the Fever, both games in Indy, and scrapped out 2 wins in a tough place to play all of a sudden. That was 2 nice wins for them. They followed it up with that win that we gave you guys in the rundown yesterday versus the Sun. So, yeah, don't look now, but the Champs is starting to play a little better. Got a big game versus the Storm tomorrow night, which will be kind of a fun way to get close to wrapping this thing up in the regular season.
They are the number 4 seed right now, again, with 2 games left. The Liberty, the Lynx, and the Sun are your top 3 seeds. Seattle is the 5. Indiana is the 6. Phoenix is 7th. And then that's number 8 seed, again, with 2 games remaining. You've got the Mystics, the Sky, and the Dream all tied at 13 and 25. So this one is going to go right down to the wire, and I'm not sure what the schedule is for those 3 the rest of the way. But the Mystics are 5-3 against the Sky and the Dream. So right now they hold the that 8 seed.
I think the Sky go to Atlanta at some point this week, which that's proverbial knockout game, it seems like, right?
Yeah, it looks like they host. Well, wait a minute. Hang on. The Sky. Yes, they go to the Dream on tomorrow night. Well, they play the Dream twice. They go to Atlanta tomorrow night, and they're at home against them. No. I'm sorry. They go to Atlanta tomorrow night. They go to Connecticut on Thursday night. There we go. So,
yeah, that'll knock one of them out almost assuredly. ESPN projections say the Dream at around 48.5%. The Mystics, who have really kind of risen from the dead in the bottom of the table there, they're up to 35% roughly, and the Sky around 17.5%. So, but yeah, you win that game tomorrow. That'll be a fun game to watch tomorrow night between those 2 teams. Like I said, one of them will be pretty much knocked out, I would imagine, at that point.
Yeah, the Dream hosting the Sky tomorrow, and then they finish Thursday at the Liberty. So they really
better win tomorrow then.
Tomorrow. Yeah. The Mystics wrap up. They host the Liberty tomorrow, and they host the Fever on Thursday. So.
Yeah, better. Those teams are hoping that the Liberty start resting some folks.
Yeah, and shoot, they are the number 1 seed. I'm not sure even resting folks would be enough. So that's they have had a heck of a season this year. So kudos to them. Chris Buescher gets the win at Watkins Glen. Non-playoff driver Chris Buescher, by the way.
That's what I'm here for. I want chaos just with these non-playoff folks winning.
Buescher wins it. Edging out Shane Van Gisbergen.
Heather told us he was a road course specialist too. So
yep. He finished 2nd. Carson Hocevar places 3rd. Trackhouse's Ross Chastain is 4th, and Zane Smith finishes 5th. The highest finishing playoff driver was Chase Briscoe, who finished 6th.
Wow.
Top 10 closed out by Michael McDowell, Corey LaJoy, Ryan Priest, and Austin Cindric. Pretty good weekend for Trackhouse, as Daniel Suarez was also in the top 15. Finished 14th. So nice weekend. We will talk more about NASCAR with Heather on Wednesday. Over at Vanderbilt's Legends Club, Paul Peterson, we talked about on Friday, leading after the first round. He fell off, but he rallied back on Sunday to win the Simmons Bank Open for the Snedeker Foundation. Overcame a 2-stroke lead by Ryan Gerard in the final round, finished 20 under 260, 1 stroke ahead of Matt Atkins. Won $270,000, excuse me, in prize money, and a guitar. A Gibson guitar was the trophy. So again, it is Nashville. Peterson goes 64, 63, 67, 66. I take it.
Good win for him. And start stocking some points and see how high you can get, and maybe turn that 270 first place into a tournament next year with the big boys where you can win you a couple mil.
There you go. Part of the Corn Ferry Tour, which determines which 30 amateur golfers will be invited to join the PGA Tour in 2025. So good luck to these guys. Finally, the Big Machine Music City Grand Prix took place Sunday out at the Nashville Superspeedway in Gladeville. Carson Herta won the event, and Alex Palou finished 11th. I'm sorry, Colton Herta won the event. Alex Palou finished 11th to wrap up the season IndyCar Championship. Will Power had a seat belt malfunction and dropped out of the fray. So Palou qualified 15th, started 24th, got up to 11th. That's solid performance for him. But again,
third
with the win there out at Gladeville. So that's going to do it for the Monday Mirror edition of Main Street Sports Today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. Tomorrow we will be joined by former Mississippi Braves radio broadcaster Chris Harris, along with the Blue Raider voice Chip Walters. So be sure and check in with us here at 2 o'clock tomorrow on Main Street Sports Today. We'll see you then.